guys, welcome back to the channel. The subject today is gonna be tires. I have been messing with tires. Well, if you, like me, is into factory stock building, you must know that companies like AMT, that's by far my favorite, and this is something I mention without any guilt, is now only giving you these tires. The Firestone Supremes. Well, nothing wrong about this little Firestone. Is it my helper? My helper, Svetlana. So, please forgive my hands that are full of paint. Well, occupational hazard. Those tires have nothing wrong, and in fact they are quite good, but they are nice for a white line like this one. But for a full wide Whitewall, they are crap. They look terrible if you paint from here to here in white. Terrible, they look terrible. So AMT is no longer supplying my favorite tire ever. That's not this one. Let me show you. And this tire pack here is actually from the 56 Ford. Here you have the pie crust cheaters from the 56 Ford kit. You have to look on older AMT kits to get this one. And if you are into AMT kits, you really remember this one. And this tire here happens to be my absolute favorite AMT tire. All-time favorite AMT tire. What they are giving you now, if you are lucky, on some kits from the late 19s and early 2000s, is this one. And this one is not so nice. At least I think so. The Whitewall is a smaller. It's a more square tire. That is more square tire in design. Has almost no detail on the back. And this is the basic tire that AMT gives you on the parts pack, with that so nicely tempo printed Whitewall. But the tempo printed Whitewall is on the back, where there are no names, like this Firestone name here. They added a few details to this basic tire. They added a more detailed Firestone logo here and some lettering, gum dipped by the sides like the real tire. And they added some detail here on the tread, and here too they added a little detail in form of a copy of this shoulder here. And here on the back side they tempo print the white Whitewall. Well, I like that tire, but it's a parts pack tire, and on every single set I have and I have to delete the tempo printed Whitewall and repaint the white wall on the correct size where the names will appear, like on the real car. So I decided to try something new. I took my favorite AMT tire, this one, that I like much more than the others, and I used my tool. I have a little tool here I made for my Dremel, and it consists on a kit wheel back mounted on the Dremel little axle here that's normally used to screw on that polishing discs of them. So what I usually do with this, I put the tires on this, mount them, make sure they will rotate nice and free, mount them on the Dremel, and with the Dremel spinning at a low speed, I use my brush and paint the thin white lines or the thin white stripes for more modern cars. The idea I had with this tire here was to go in a different direction. I wanted to make copies of this tire. Well, if AMT were not going to provide, I had to provide copies for myself. So, and I decided I will make a detachable white wall out of this tire to make painting easier. So I mounted it here on my Dremel support, and using the Dremel and a very sharp and new number 11 blade with the Dremel speeding, I made a cut here and cut here, and voila, detachable white wall. I ruined 3 tires to get to this result. The first 2 were terrible, the third was so-so, and the fourth is this one and came out perfect. And that was a pain for me because those tires are my little precious things. So I decided to make a resin copy of this tire. And let me take the cat's hair out of this, and I made this mold. This mold here basically consists of 2 AMT tires. One of them is this one, and the other is a Firestone Supreme. I did exactly the same thing because I like to use the Firestone Supreme on early 60s cars with a smaller white wall. A white wall that doesn't go all the way to the top, just like this one. So I cut the white wall the size I wanted out of a Supreme and out of one of these that is a Deluxe Champion. Placed the tires nicely and made molds for the tire and for the white wall on both tires, and it resulted so-so. It still had too much of a gap here between the white wall and the tire, and that happened because when you are making a mold like this, to make the first part you have to deepen the tire on clay, and when I deepened the tire on clay, it opened itself a little, and that caused my problem of gap. And this mold also gave me a problem because to supply the resin and to let the air out, the thread would come out with significant points missing, and that would give me a lot of work to fix the thread tire by tire on resin. So, well, even though with this problem I made this mold here and I cast about four times with it. Initially with a resin that's almost clear, there is a little here, that's called polyester resin, and that was the wrong resin. Here is one of the tires I cast. It's a little oval, it's not round, and look, it's really brittle. And here I started to attempt fixing the thread with putty, and you can see the thread went out of this a little bad. And this resin here is brittle, I mean really brittle, and takes forever to get dry. It's the kind of resin used on fiberglass. So I had to change things. This was not successful, even though the last tire I cast I decided to paint to see how it will look, and this is what I got. See the gaps? You have big gaps, and here you have some flaws due to bubbles on the resin. And the thread is a disaster, but it kind of looks good, and this motivated me to make another. So I modified my mold and made this one. This mold here is different from that, as the resin is fed from the top, and those holes here, this here and this here and here, are for the air to escape. Let's open it. Here we have the tire and the Whitewall. If you get the tire, put it here, you'll notice there are no more issues with the thread. The Whitewall goes here. No more thread issues. On the upper side of the mold, I have just the face of the tire, the sidewall, the back of the Whitewall, and a hole here to feed the resin, and a hole here to make the air go out. So I have it here and here. I also changed the type of resin and started using polyurethane resin that dries white. And this tire here is the result. A lot better. The thread is a perfect copy of the tire of the master, without all those defects, and even the back side comes out perfect. No more bubbles, and I still have my detachable Whitewall. Well, This is one of my prototypes, and this baby here is the final product. See, the thread comes out a perfect copy of the AMT tire. Here on the back I just have to fill two little holes, and this defect here is even a copy of the defect on the AMT tire. I just have to fill two little holes and paint the tire, and the white wall comes out perfect because the resin feeding is on the back of the white wall. Let's take her out of here. Here's the white wall. The resin is white. Here on the back you'll see the resin is white, but I painted it white to give that brand new Whitewall tire color, and the tire was painted black. I brush painted the tire black with testers, flat black mixed with a couple drops of white to give that rubber color that is more of a very dark gray than just flat black. And here we have a copy of that one tire, and more copies of that one tire. Now I solved my problem of not having my favorite tire to use on my kits anymore. Now I can make them as much as I want, and that's what I'm doing. We can even put a nice well cover here. See? Perfect for a brand new 57 Ford. Talking about 57 Fords, I started a new project. That is a 57 Ford. I got this one. Okay, gentlemen, had to switch the battery. Well, I got this 57 Ford. It was very cheap, and soon I discovered why it was very cheap. Several parts were missing. One of them was the entire engine, and this engine here is a resin copy of a 57 Ford engine. Those more delicate parts here that will show more and will define more the engine were cast with polyurethane resin, and the two halves of the block were cast with that other resin that's a little transparent. And it's not perfect, but will fit. This car I already started fixing the mold lines here and creating new seams here and here to replicate the real Ford. And here I made a little dent, and this is my crazy cat Mitch. And here on this side I'm simulating a badly done bundle repair. And what is the best way to simulate a badly done bundle repair? Well, by doing one. I used my mini torch to actually make a dent. You can see from inside. I make a dent on the car. And I did a very poor repair job using only putty. And it's far from perfect, but that's what I wanted. I also added a little rust here and a little rust touches here and here on the rocker. So you figure it out. This car will be very much used but still very roadworthy 57 Ford. Just like one 57 Ford that has been on the road for about 20 something years. And I will even put a late 70s license plate on there. And that is what I'm doing. I'll try to post some progress on this one. And by the way, this is one of my virgin and untouched 57 Ford kits, and I used this one to mold the engine. The engine parts are still here separate because I used them to make the mold, make the engine for that other Ford. Well guys, that's what I have been up to, and I'll try to post you some news about the tire making and about the 57 Ford. Thanks again for watching, and bye.